Okay. The best way I can describe my philosophy is that the entire world is ruled by intangible concepts. We are ruled by our emotions and by our thoughts. Because despite how thoughts have no matter, we have no ability to sense them with any of our five senses, or even rationalize them, because we cannot measure them, we cannot weigh them. They simply are our motivations, our desires, our ability to fathom what we're looking at. So that is what controls this world and all other worlds. We are ruled by these principalities. That's why in a previous video I made a primitive periodic table of the elements of evil. Evil seems to be the more common element force within our world. I can't say that about all other worlds. But at the end of the day, what I try to promote most is this notion that there is no one God or one devil. There are many gods and many devils. I'm a polytheist, but the reason I focus on Christian God is because that's the only one that's important, at least to me. Because Yahweh is the champion of justice and of righteousness, which is what we need right now, especially what I need, because I get screwed time after time. So I pray to Yahweh to bring down His wrath upon the unholy wretches of this world. So that is how I rationalize my Christian faith combined with all other faiths. No one is really wrong. They just do not realize who is pulling their strings. There are strings everywhere. There are strings of fear, of courage, of hope, of hopelessness, of ignorance, of wisdom, of intelligence. Every thought, every feeling, every drive and concept exists. It exists both as a metaphysical idea, like the Jedi's Force concept, and it exists as a sentient being. Because essentially, when we are pure enough in that form, we become examples of that. We exemplify that. So, when I say Yahweh is perfect, Yahweh is good, what I mean to say is He is a shining example of those concepts of righteousness and justice. So, we look at good and evil like, don't punch somebody in the face when they're just walking by, even though moderators do that anyway. But, good and evil is more complex than that, but simple at the same time. It's complex that you can't just word it like that. There's more to it. But it's simple that it's not all that difficult to comprehend. An animal gets it. To at least on some basic level, an animal relies on instinct. Animals do not deter too much from what they were designed for. I say designed because maybe matter itself is pulled by these concepts down to our neurons and our atoms. These strings are pulling all around, and human beings are unique in that with our self-awareness we can somewhat manipulate where these strings pull and how much they tug. But it does have sort of a fatalist quality about it, that either way we are doomed, I guess you can put it, into becoming something or nothing at all. I don't believe in a life after death for everybody. I believe in a life after death for a very few people who can live up to being an example of those emotional spectrums. I also don't believe that necessarily there will be a rapture and all of that stuff. It's a nice idea, but it isn't necessary. There's no reason for God to show mercy upon us and to give us a second resurrection where we can all live our lives peacefully. That does not necessarily represent what God is. Just because we would like that. So I do not pray to God for, to make my life better individually, Jim Prophet's life. I pray to God because I look at the world and it is a bitch. So, anything is better than this. So, That's basically what it comes down to. You cannot deny what is. There is good, there is evil, and everything that does exist or doesn't exist, too fucking bad. You know, I don't care if people are atheists, because it doesn't matter either way. Whether or not they believe makes no difference. I don't necessarily believe their soul is doomed to hell either, because more than likely they won't be going anywhere. They haven't done enough, or, you know, given it that much thought and effort to, you know, congest that feeling and that energy into something tangible, I guess you can put it. You know, there's different levels of tangibility I'm talking about here, and I just don't know how to word it. So, you know, I'm working with a limited vocabulary here, because English is a fucking shitty language. But, the way I can only describe it to you is that when you die, you are not going to see your grandma and your dog in doggy heaven, and you're not all going to hold hands and be friends. What you're going to do is you're going to be a shining pillar of whatever emotion you most projected and was most influential in your life. So, hell might exist as a dimension where negative energy clusters, but it will only look like hell to the third person. To the rest of us, it'll just, to them, it'll just look like normal. It'll look like every single day, and it won't, and they'll think it's probably awesome, because they are not sentient like you and I. They are not looking at in terms of, you know, we are these mortal beings that have to worry about survival and, you know, this and that and positive and negative. They are only that. They are only that concept. So, you know, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are not unthinking. They might still have sentience, but it is different. It is, you know, it's kind of like how someone that's bipolar isn't going to think like someone that is simply narcissistic. It's a different state of mind. But, you know, I don't know how else to explain. So, a lot of people get confused and think I'm a nihilist or a moral subjectivist because I don't focus on the needs of people or human suffering or, you know, anything like that. But it's quite the opposite. I know all of this to be self-evident, so I don't worry about it. What I worry about is myself and where I'm going to go. And every time I try to exercise my spirit, someone fucking comes down on me. Someone is always censoring me, or denouncing me, or slanderizing me. And it's always to suppress me. Why? Because they're jealous. Because they're evil, and they're despicable, and their energy is in conflict with mine. And, you know, I never said that I was a good person. I never said that, you know, my way is the only way. All I'm saying is I should be able to. You know, I've suffered enough in my life, so I shouldn't have to be anybody else's whipping boy. And, you know, that's more of a statement than an objectional reality, because, you know, your principality, I'm sure, says otherwise. Most of yours does. But I will pray every single day for Yahweh to come down on you and burn your flesh to a crisp, and that way I can stretch out my feet and be who I want to be who I was destined to be, and be great, and be remembered, and be, you know, immortal and valuable, and never have to worry about this shit again. So, I guess you can call it a mixture of cynicism plus optimism. It's cynicism towards other people, but it's optimism toward my ultimate future. It is this objective reality that has subjective consequences, because we know that there is good and evil, and that's never going to change. There is always going to be good, and there's always going to be evil. The point is that I would rather be a positive beacon than a negative beacon. I don't want to be a pillar of hate and evil and stupidity. That's all on you. I've seen what you are, and I don't like it. Not you personally, the guy that makes the philosophy videos. I mean, like, some of the viewers out there that are defending Richard the Rapist Buller right now. So, it's probably been over 10 minutes. God, hopefully it hasn't. And I'll make a part 2 if you want to see a part 2.